Hey guys, Outriders is so full of things to consider that a lot of important stats might get overlooked or not even being considered by many of us. In our minds, we like to kill things, get loot, and have fun. As long as those three things are achieved, we may not care about anything else, right? But what about all these stats that the game throws at you? Do you know what all of them mean? Probably not, but today we are going to talk about one particular stat in the stat sheet that most people don't pay attention to, and it is the resistance piercing. My name is Wes and thank you so much for tuning into the channel. I appreciate you being here. If this video helps you in any way, please click the like button, and even better, if you consider subscribing, I will be forever grateful. Anyway, what is resistance piercing? If you are a fan of looter shooter, you definitely know about armor piercing, which the game Outriders describe as the percentage of enemy armor that is ignored when dealing weapon damage. The higher the enemy's armor, the higher armor piercing will scale and deal greater damage. In layman terms, use your guns to shred the enemy's armor until it's dead. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Now, resistance piercing on the other hand, the game describes this as the percentage of enemy resistance that is ignored when dealing ability damage. In layman terms, you use your skill to deal damage that bypass an enemy's resistance. All that said, what you need to understand is that in Outriders, you have to deal with two types of damage when it comes to the enemy. It's weapon damage and anomaly damage. While some enemies have armors, other enemies have resistance. Hence, that's why you have resistance piercing as a stat. When enemies use resistance mitigation, you have to counteract with resistance piercing, which is using your anomaly skills, including anomaly infused rounds such as twisted rounds for the trickster, blighted rounds for technomancer, or volcanic rounds for pyromancer. Devastators, well, they reflect bullets. I don't know. Anyway, why does resistance piercing matter? Believe it or not, resistance piercing helps you deal better with bosses, elites, and beast enemies in this game. In the higher difficulty level of this game, enemies are very tanky because they have resistance to your gun damage, especially the beasts. That's why twisted rounds are so popular in this game. Twisted rounds can bypass enemies' resistance and you are able to shred them, especially if you can keep your anomaly rounds going. Now that I think you know a little bit about resistance piercing and how it plays a role in the grand scheme of things, what do you do next? Well, when you're making your build, you will have to take that into consideration, meaning you don't need to only focus on firepower, you also need to pay attention to anomaly power. When you're speccing the class trees of your character, understand that resistance piercing is as important as armor piercing, and can even be more powerful if you invest in anomaly power rather than firepower. Most people when farming for gears are looking for bonus firepower, cooldown reduction, and close range damage stats in their gears, because that is what they favor. But remember, you can also look for anomaly power in your gear pieces, and the more anomaly power you have, the better you will be able to take advantage of resistance piercing. And you can also deal a lot more damage to the enemies at the higher levels of this game. Now, in most stat sheets, you will most likely notice that the armor piercing percentage stats will be a lot higher than resistance piercing, simply because people only go with what they know or what they are used to from other games. However, that is not a bad thing because your resistance piercing can benefit greatly from your armor piercing. You can achieve that by using one simple tier 2 mod by the name of No Resistance Against the Fortified. The mod description states, increase your resistance piercing by 50% of your armor piercing value. If you look on my stat sheets, you notice that I have 40% armor piercing value. This automatically gives me a flat 20% of resistance piercing, which is that 50% value the mod was talking about. There's also another mod that helps with resistance piercing, and it's called Resistance Breaker. It's a weapon mod. The description of the mod states, shots decrease your target's resistance by 35% for 6 seconds. This mod works great on those enemies that use resistance, and with that mod on, you can still do decent damage to them. Now, when it comes to the stat sheet, I have to say the numbers are sometimes, they're not 100% reliable because they can fluctuate at times. Regardless though, it gives you an idea of what you're working with without burying yourself in the numbers. That said, in order to get the armor piercing stats, you have to find weapons that come with armor piercing stats. Same way you can increase your bonus firepower by equipping armors that come with the bonus firepower stats. The more of a stat you combine together between your armors and your weapons, the better it will improve the bonus number on your stat sheet. My stat sheet is still a work in progress as I just got to the end game because I was taking my time, and even with this crappy setup that I have right here, I was able to complete a challenge tier 6 expedition. I didn't get any gold whatsoever. I got some loot for finishing it, and that's all that matters right now. Now, bottom line, it's important to know what stats matter for your build and grind the game until you can perfect that build. This game is just not about everybody running the same glass cannon tap tree build. There's other options. It's just a matter of trials and errors until you find what works the best for you. Anyway guys, I hope this video was informative. If you learned anything from this video, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. I will be most appreciative. Thanks again for watching. See you guys later.
Remember to wash your hands. Remember to wash your